Deep within the humid, tangled rainforests of equatorial Africa lives a creature that commands instant respect wherever it goes. Covered in dark, coarse fur, built like a wall of muscle, with wide nostrils and a body mass that dwarfs almost every other land mammal on the continent, this animal doesn't need to prove anything to the rest of the jungle. Predators steer clear. Rivals think twice. Even the loudest corners of the forest tend to go quiet when it passes by. This is the gorilla, and for good reason. It's often called the king of the jungle. Gorillas are the largest living primates on Earth, and that title alone earns them a wide berth from almost every other animal in their habitat, including big cats and crocodiles that would otherwise dominate a smaller creature. With their shaggy, dark coats and intense stares, they can look almost otherworldly, some might even say a little frightening at first glance. But looks are deceiving. Along with chimpanzees and orangutans, gorillas sit among humanity's closest living relatives, sharing roughly 95 to 98% of our DNA depending on the comparison method used. That genetic closeness shows up in ways that are hard to miss. Gorillas can stand and walk upright on two legs for short stretches. They wrinkle their foreheads when concentrating, bite their lips, and even let out something resembling laughter when something amuses them. Watching a mother gorilla interact with her infant, it's almost impossible not to see the family resemblance. Their intelligence goes beyond cute mannerisms, too. Gorillas have been observed using sticks to test the depth of water before wading in, and they'll grab branches or logs to help them cross unstable, swampy ground safely. Simple tools, but clear evidence of problem solving. Vocally, they're capable of producing more than 20 distinct calls and sounds to communicate with each other, though none of it resembles human speech. Here's the twist. Beneath that imposing exterior is one of the most peaceful animals in the entire rainforest. Gorillas spend their days wandering through the undergrowth in search of food, hunting nothing and bothering no one. Left alone, they are calm, unhurried, and almost lazy in temperament. Aggression only surfaces when their space or their family is threatened, otherwise. Gentle giant is a far more accurate label than monster. The physical numbers are staggering. An adult male gorilla can stand close to 1.8 meters tall when upright, with shoulders roughly a meter across and a body weight that ranges from 140 to over 200 kilograms. Pound for pound, their muscle development often outpaces that of elite human athletes. Their build reflects raw power over speed, a broad, almost square torso, short but powerful legs, and unusually long, thick arms ending in wide hands and feet. The back tends to be broad and sometimes slightly sloped, and a bony ridge running along the top of the skull gives the head a distinctive, almost rectangular silhouette. Wide-set nostrils and deep-set eyes complete the look. Interestingly, gorilla hands and feet mirror our own far more than you'd expect. 10 fingers, 10 toes, all equipped with nails, plus a set of 32 teeth, the same count adult humans have. They're fully capable of walking upright on two legs, but in practice they favor a four-limbed gait, propping themselves up on their knuckles as they move. It's simply more stable and efficient for an animal of that size. Gorillas live in tight-knit troops, typically ranging from 5 to 30 individuals. Leadership falls to the most experienced adult male, easily identified by the silver-gray patch of fur that spreads across his back with age, earning him the nickname Silverback. The rest of the group consists of his mates and their offspring, essentially forming an extended family unit under his protection. Defending that family is serious business, and the silverback is built for it. Canine teeth reaching up to 5 centimeters long, muscles like steel cables, and a surprising degree of agility for such a massive frame. It's this combination that keeps even seasoned predators, crocodiles and leopards included, from testing their luck. They know full well that any attack on the group would be met with immediate and overwhelming retaliation. Adult females are considerably smaller than males, typically weighing between 60 and 115 kilograms. But size isn't really the point when you're protected by a 2-meter wall of muscle roughly 8 times stronger than an adult human. There's little need to compete on strength. Despite their intimidating physique, gorillas are almost entirely vegetarian. Their diet consists of whatever fresh, nutrient-rich plant matter they come across: fruit, bamboo shoots, nuts, leaves, stems, pretty much anything green and edible in their path. Their powerful jaw muscles make quick work of tough, fibrous plant material that would be difficult for most animals to chew. The catch is that plant matter isn't especially calorie-dense, so gorillas compensate with sheer volume. An adult gorilla can eat somewhere between 20 and 30 kilograms of vegetation in a single day, packing in enormous amounts of fiber and micronutrients in the process. Processing that much plant material requires a correspondingly massive digestive system, which explains the round, pot-bellied silhouette so many gorillas have. Occasionally they'll supplement their diet with insects, and to make up for any mineral shortfall, they've even been observed eating small amounts of clay. Curiously, gorillas rarely drink standing water. Their leafy diet already contains enough moisture to keep them hydrated. And as a general rule, gorillas dislike water, which may explain why they never develop the ability to swim. Bad weather doesn't sit well with gorillas either. When it rains, they typically huddle beneath large tree canopies, hunching over with their heads down and arms crossed over their chests, using their own bodies as shelter. Mothers tuck their infants in close against their bellies for warmth and protection. In these moments, the whole troop tends to go quiet and inactive, waiting it out. Sunshine is a completely different story. On clear days, gorillas will stretch out in open patches of light for hours, soaking up the warmth much like sunbathers on a beach, visibly relaxed. Sometimes even breaking a light sweat in the heat. For the most part, gorilla groups are remarkably peaceful, and real conflict is rare. When disagreements do happen, they're most often among the females, frequently sparked by something as small as a coveted piece of fruit. These spats can get loud, shouting, nipping, plenty of dramatic posturing. But they rarely escalate beyond that, and the females typically patch things up and support one another again soon after. The silverback tends to stay out of these squabbles entirely, leaving the females to sort it out among themselves while he focuses on bigger responsibilities, patrolling the territory and keeping outside threats at bay. Even a level-headed, generally easygoing silverback has his limits. If a rival male starts making advances toward the females in his group, that composed family patriarch can transform almost instantly into something far more intimidating. He roars, pounds his fists against his chest, and charges forward in threatening bursts, all designed to send one clear message: back off. This is the origin of gorillas' most iconic behavior, chest beating. It usually starts with a low, rhythmic hooting sound that builds into a piercing cry audible from nearly a kilometer away, rising up onto his hind legs to his full height. The silverback alternates striking his chest with open palms, arms bent at the elbow, one leg often lifted slightly off the ground. In that moment, the fury radiating off this massive, shaggy creature seems almost limitless. Then, just as suddenly, he drops back down onto all fours and charges through the underbrush, crashing through anything in his path, before finishing the display by slapping the ground with both palms. Despite how alarming it looks, this ritual rarely leads to actual violence. It's largely a release valve, a way to blow off tension and reassert dominance without anyone getting hurt. Once it's over, the silverback typically returns to the group calm and composed, back to being the attentive head of the family, watching over the young, protecting the females, and generally running the household like a devoted patriarch. Gorillas don't follow a strict breeding season. Reproduction happens year-round. Pregnancy lasts roughly 8.5 months, remarkably close to the human gestation period, and almost always results in a single infant. Twins are extremely rare. Newborns weigh just over 2 kilograms but develop at nearly double the pace of a human baby. By around 2.5 months old, infants are already sampling solid plant food. And by their first birthday, they're climbing through branches with confidence. By age 6, a young gorilla can weigh around 16 kilograms. In their earliest months, infants ride on their mother's back, gripping her fur for balance and security. For roughly the first 3 years of life, they remain completely dependent on her for food, protection, and guidance. Gorilla mothers are known for being remarkably patient, gentle, and attentive caregivers. Over the course of her life, a female gorilla will typically give birth to around 4 or 5 offspring, and young gorillas usually don't leave the family troop until around age 8, right around puberty. Life in a gorilla troop moves at an unhurried pace: naps, casual foraging for something tasty, grooming sessions where members pick through each other's fur, and long stretches of digesting the previous meal while lying around. Meanwhile, the youngsters burn off energy playing games that look remarkably familiar: chasing each other, sliding down slopes or fallen tree trunks, wrestling over control of a favorite spot, or forming a line with hands on each other's shoulders and marching around like a little train. Even the older, most senior males will often tolerate the young ones climbing and playing on them without complaint. Gorillas reach full physical maturity between 10 and 12 years old. In the wild, they typically live 30 to 35 years, while in captivity, with steady food and no predators, that lifespan can stretch to as much as 50 years. Here's a detail that surprises a lot of people. Gorillas are the largest mammals known to build nests. As dusk approaches, the troop gathers around the silverback, and almost in unison, everyone starts constructing a nest for the night. Because of his sheer body weight, the silverback typically builds his nest directly on the ground, while females and younger members build theirs up in the trees. These nests, woven mostly from leaves and branches, are roughly a meter across, and remarkably, the whole troop builds a fresh one every single night. Put all of this together, and the old image of gorillas as ferocious, bloodthirsty jungle monsters falls apart pretty quickly. In reality, they're peaceful, plant-eating creatures that would rather avoid conflict altogether. Intimidating to look at, but almost entirely harmless unless directly provoked. Unfortunately, that myth has done real damage. As humans have lost their fear of gorillas, poaching has surged, with entire groups killed for trophies while orphaned infants are shipped off to zoos. On top of that, deforestation, disease outbreaks like Ebola, and armed conflict in the regions where gorillas live have all taken a serious toll on wild populations. Without meaningful change, the near-term future for these animals looks genuinely bleak. It's a sobering thought for all their raw physical power. Gorillas have never relied on force to solve their problems. But no amount of chest beating can protect them from the threats humanity has created. That responsibility ultimately falls on us.